Hey, I'm a lawyer. Do you need my help?
Now we've got three.
Okay, now we got three.
We're collecting us. Look at us.
Okay, our live stream is streaming.
Great. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the January 26th, 2026 meeting of the Fairport Industrial Development Agency. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And we'll begin with public comment. We have a guest here today, Jordan Morgenstern from Canalside Commons, who's interested in talking to us about an upcoming project. Welcome.
Thank you. Am I up?
You're up.
on.
Okay, great. So yeah, we acquired Canalside Commons just prior to the end of the year. So probably like, we're closing on a 1 month anniversary of acquiring the property. It's a property that we've had a lot of interest in, for probably, interest in acquiring for the better part of 10 years. I had a former partner sort of first bring the site up to me years ago, and we were very intrigued. And we've sort of been monitoring the situation there for many years and sort of feel fortunate if I pull it all together and sort of acquire what we really view as an underutilized, underappreciated site that really nobody's taken care of in a long time.
Can you describe or give us the address so that
It's
the general public's
1000 Turk Hill. People really know it as the amazing grain site. So, I think everybody in this community appreciates salt bread.
Mhm.
If I'm going to eat carbs, those are carbs that I want to eat. Buttery, salty, delicious carbs. I'm a huge fan. And, when somebody asks me, well, where is it? I'm like, oh, have you ever been to Amazing Grains? Like, oh, yeah, of course. We go there all the time. That's the site.
Perfect.
So what are you planning? What's your goals for this property?
I mean, listen, I don't know where to start. I mean, it requires a tremendous amount of investment with time and capital. It's been owned by out of town, truly the owners had actually, I found out later that owners have never stepped foot on the property. The people who bought it from owned it for 13 years and were never once there. So, personally, I take a lot of pride in ownership. I drive by the property, since August when we started the process of trying to buy it. I'm on the property almost daily. Not necessarily getting out of my car all the time, especially in this weather, but I drive it. I brainstorm. I get ideas there. But generally speaking, there's a large industrial building, probably around 30,000 square feet there, that we will make cosmetic improvements to, probably paint it, add better lighting, work on converting some of the industrial space that's vacant there now from industrial or warehouse to perhaps retail, fitness, some sort of, bring life to that part of the building. There's another 25,000 square foot building that is the old cobblestone sort of historic looking building on the site. In the ideal world, we make that multifamily at some point, make that, space that people can live at. And there's a third building with the CrossFit Fairport site that has deteriorated a lot over the years. It's, in my opinion, an eyesore. That really has no architectural significance. And at some point, we would love to, this is probably years down the road, 3 to 5 year plan at a minimum, perhaps demolish that building and put multifamily there one day. That's more of a dream. I don't know how close to reality that is, because there's been environmental issues and cleanup on that site for many years. But in the ideal world, that's the direction we would head. The site also has access to that footbridge that really connects the village, the trail that sort of runs to the village and the canal. There's a footbridge there, and I think that one of our immediate goals is to try to really connect our site to the footbridge, and make it far more appealing. We see people all the time walking their dogs, sort of, I don't know, running down that hill, hiking down that hill to get to our site. And we really want to sort of create stairs, like a more mezzanine style access to the property from the footbridge. So, all this stuff takes time, takes money, takes energy, takes vision. And we're starting to dedicate effort to it, but none of this is going to really happen overnight.
You talked about, industrial cleanup. What sorts of things are you, is
Well,
on the
I mean, I'm
property?
talking about environmental cleanup, and the
Environmental
site,
cleanup?
there's a consent order that was entered into between the New York State DEC and prior owners, way before the previous owner, but this used to be Crossman Arms, the site, and there's an existing consent order involving required cleanup, and it's really close to the end of that consent order. I'm pretty sure it's been about a 30-year process, and then the final couple years of the cleanup. But yeah, that's really outside of my personal scope. But we've just been told by our environmental consultant and Crossman Arms environmental consultant and the New York State DEC that the cleanup's almost complete.
Got it.
So,
I can ask a million questions, but
okay. And
but is there more to the project that you want to know? I mean, what about the, there's businesses in there now. And it's obviously it's more than one building. You described three.
yeah.
What's going to happen? What's your first step? How's that?
I mean,
Besides
we've
the
already really
footprint.
started the first step. I mean, a lot of it is cosmetic improvements and really making the site less of an eyesore. We really want to tie it into the village is like one general idea. And part of that is even just the way that the signage in the village, we really love all of the work that's been done, the streetscapes, the use of those like large sort of metal, I'm trying to think of how do you describe them, but those like arches that say Village of Fairport. So we like to try to tie our site into that to some like cosmetic ways where we sort of add arches, we sort of make the property sort of prettier. We've started removing trees, but there's probably hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in tree work you could do that site. It's a forest with lots of trees. I mean, dozens and dozens of trees have fallen. There's trees in the canal right now, but sort of clean up the general appearance, improve what we sort of have there, and just make it a more attractive, desirable site, something that we're proud of. That's really step one.
I'm going to open it up to others. Let us, thoughts. I think about access. It's that corner. Anyway, I said open it up, and now I'm taking it back. But like the getting in and getting out of that site is not easy on that corner as the hill's coming down, and you've got immediately going in, and if you're going to add
Well,
multifamily.
listen, I mean, I hear what you're
Crazy.
saying.
No,
But
I'm lots of work.
Yeah,
Lots
I'm
of
saying
work.
I hear you, but I personally go in and out of that site daily, and I've never had an issue at all. Whether it's getting in, getting out, I've never felt like, oh wow, that was a close call. My personal experiences are that there's, I don't see that same concern. Or if it's a concern, I have 200 things on my list ahead of that concern.
Yeah. I'm going to stop asking. Who else wants to
Okay.
go? Rob?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I'm excited about the local
Yeah.
ownership, Jordan. That's great news.
Yeah, thank you. And by the way, every single tenant has said the same thing. They see us there doing work in the building, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We've really only had very positive feedback from the existing tenants that are there.
That's great. Yeah, I actually have a cousin that used to operate a small business there and then moved it out to the, let's call it a strip mall out near Salt out on 31.
Okay.
And I don't know that he had a great experience while he was there. It worked for him. And I don't know if it was just they outgrew it or they didn't have a positive experience with the ownership, but I think either way, local ownership is going to be great. I have a question for you thinking about like this, you've been in and out of that space now, obviously a whole bunch.
Yep.
When you think about attracting tenants with the scope of remodel or repair that you envision now,
yep.
Within that scope, do you think it's space that could be marketed towards, smaller tech entities?
I mean, the tech entity one's a little tougher because they're looking for this. Again, this is my experience in real estate in Rochester, both as a real estate developer and as a attorney who represents tech companies like that. That they're really looking for like high-end office space, and the trend is to go from your 10,000 square foot space to a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot space that's really like, for better words, like tricked out. like all the bells and whistles. They want a great lunch area, TVs. They really want to make it like this, like really sexy workspace. So the cost to create sexy workspace is really high, and then requires a tenant who's going to pay really high rents. There is some office space in the property now, and I would describe it as almost the opposite. Like really feels like 70s, like stuck in a time warp space that requires such tremendous amount of capital improvements that like I can't imagine that this is going to be $35 a square foot office space. It's just wild to think what you'd have to put into it to move it from where it is today. And I'm happy to give, if there's individuals that want a tour of the buildings, happy to sort of show everybody, but like true 70s Brady Bunch style office space is how I would sort of describe it. So I think that what's there now is more like, I'd love to see fitness there. I know that there's like group classes like the CrossFit's a great use, but something even more sort of modern, like an Orange Theory or a Spoke Cycle, sort of uses like that. I think that brewery, restaurant, coffee shop, things that sort of bring energy, bring people to the building. That's sort of what we're sort of focusing our energy on. They got large garage doors. We'd love to turn the garage doors into from metal garage doors to glass garage doors, or just larger entryways. There's natural light. You've got the canal there. Like there's so many positives about the site that people have just sort of generally ignored because it's been like manufacturing for so long, or was manufacturing. But we look at it and say, hey, there's so many positive attributes to the site, and that really connecting the footbridge to the site is another like massive, it's an amenity there. People love to walk. People love to walk for their morning coffee, even when not when it's -10 out, but when it's 20 degrees out, there's nothing people enjoy doing more than walking on the canal and getting a beer, or cycling and stopping at Lock 32 in Pittsford and really sort of connecting like the energy of let's be outside, enjoy nature, the canal, the beauty of Fairport, and then stop and grab a donut, a croissant, a coffee, a chai, that type of thing. That's really what we want to do, is we really want to bring energy, sort of cannery-esque, maybe diet cannery, think. Like, I don't know that we'll ever have a space as beautiful as Preservation Brewing, which is outrageous, and I love it. But like maybe a step below that is really sort of what we're envisioning.
Well, certainly put me in
Jordan, sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
No, real quick. Just put me in for a tour. I think that will help.
Yeah,
listen,
I'd love anytime you want. My email, I'm really easy to get in touch with. John knows how to get in touch with me, but reach out anytime, even a text message. Like, hey, I'm literally there basically daily, and I can meet you whenever you want to meet there.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Sorry, John.
So Jordan, two things. Can you talk a little more about the scope of the footbridge connection project? I'm not that as familiar with the bridge and where it comes into your parcel. And when I look at it from the other side, it looks like it's connected there. So what?
Yeah, I think it does actually touch our parcel. Like it like opens up to it. And if you look at it, it's all like overgrown. Like the path itself goes, when you leave the footbridge, would go straight ahead. But if you sort of came up with a way where we could just make a right turn, which people are doing independently, if you go there, when there's no snow cover, you can see like a foot track, like a path that people have just sort of worn into the ground, like almost like a mud path, like a dirt path of how you get down there. And you actually have to go around a fence. And there's a bunch of dumpsters that are there too. You sort of have to like walk around it. And I'd bet there's probably 8 to 15 people a day sort of just go ahead and follow the path anyway to go to Amazing Greens. There's definitely foot traffic that already does it. And, I think that having a more legitimate, defined, maintained staircase per se, that would only drive more traffic. It'll become more of a known route or a known stop along the canal. So I'm imagining something similar to what we sort of have now at Packett's, where you cross the bridge and there's like a path that you can take to like Porterhouse Restaurant or the yoga studio, or like that back path, but something like with brick pavers and sort of a pretty staircase that runs literally along the canal.
Cool. One more question. You mentioned Amazing Grains. Everybody loves it, and
Yep.
you've been really connected with the existing tenants. What's your expectation of what will happen with existing tenants?
I mean, I listen, I hope all of them stay. I mean, we're not interested in having people pick up and leave and go somewhere else. Um, there is a lot of vacant space in the property. And again, we're sort of hoping that vacant space gets better utilized. Like, I don't think the best use is a storage facility for I don't know, an HVAC contractor. Like, we don't want to lease the space to somebody who's just going to use it for storing equipment before they sell it, or things they're going to use to install it. I think traditionally maybe you'd have like a sprinkler contractor have like piping and sort of stuff in there that they would go install in the spring when they do an underground sprinkler installation. But that's not the type of tenant we really want to have. We want people that are going to have people going in and out of their doors, that sort of drive energy and traffic to the site.
Great. Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Jordan, you were talking about all the sort of group energy vibe. You were looking
Yeah.
for prospective tenants, coffee, brewery, restaurant,
Yeah.
fitness. I'll plug Pilates as a suggestion for your modern
Yep.
fitness opportunities.
I love a Pilates suite. Love.
But just talk to me about parking. You know, it's a challenging footprint there. I, like many people, have probably done a Christmas Eve pickup from Amazing Grains and kind of navigated the tight footprint there. What's your thought on parking as you
Well,
scale up what
there's
things would look
4
like?
acres of vacant land on the site. So there's a lot more vacant land. There are a lot of other areas we could use to sort of create additional parking. There's also, when you first pull in, I would describe as an obsolete brick building. It's sort of like, it's the first thing you see when you pull in the site. Like, I would love to demolish that building at some point and just create perhaps more parking. It's one of these things that goes both ways. Anytime you say, hey, create more parking, people sort of like, ew, we don't want more parking. And then when you say, hey, we want to do more development, say, well, we need more parking. So it's sort of like this chicken and egg thing. And I have a lot of ideas. One of the probably like wilder ideas, perhaps, is on the other side of the footbridge. There's a lot of open land over there, almost like parkland. Like, I'd love to create parking lots over there and have people just walk the footbridge to get to the site. Would be an idea. An idea that you guys could probably help me implement. But that was one idea that I came up with walking the site. It's like, hey, you have all this land over here. It's public works land. Like, why not have more parking there? And if you want to get there, it does potentially require you walking 4 or 5 minutes from your car to the bridge. Again, today probably not a great day to do it, but it's not always this sort of frigid. But that's like one idea. Creating more parking. I think cleaning up the site in general, like getting all those trees out of there, the overhang would make a lot of different parts of the site perhaps more accessible for parking if it was just properly maintained. Even now, where you park for Amazing Grains, it feels like a free-for-all. You just throw your car wherever you want. It's not lined properly. There's potholes and stuff that people just sort of park wherever. Right? And there are ways of creating more parking by just sort of cleaning the site up and making it more obvious that that's a parking opportunity rather than not.
Donna?
Thanks. So, Jordan, I understand you've met with Jonna, and I think you've met Kevin as well. I think it's really important for us when we start like looking at these bigger projects and how we can support that there's a clear understanding of the limits and mission and boundaries of the OCED entities and the Village of Fairport. So things like clearing trees, permitting parking, that's not in our purview. We like to help find, we help to drive solutions if there is something that the business and the developer and the village have come to, but it's not really necessarily a way that we'll get involved. But we do, we're in the business of business matchmaking, right? Our office has keeps an ear to the ground on businesses that have expressed an interest in coming into the village, and we're trying to match some appropriate spaces. Of course, John has probably, oriented you on the various variety of incentives that we can provide in terms of pilots and grants and loans at below market rates. So I'm curious what I don't know if there's been discussions already with Jonna and Kevin on this, or if you're coming to us as well with ideas of how we can support the development and the vision that you
at
see.
this point, I don't have a particular ask. We haven't gotten into details. Like I said, we've owned it for a month. We've been thinking about it a lot for the last 2 or 3 months. But we really don't have a list of things that we sort of need support with. A lot of it we're still working through as we try to figure out the true like feasibility of converting the first building, in quotes, historic looking building into multifamily. So I won't know for a few more weeks or months how realistic that opportunity is. I think it is the best use for that building. But I'm still sort of working through with the New York State DEC what's allowed and what's not going to be allowed, and if they are going to allow it, what I've got to do to achieve or get their sort of permission to do it. So we're still sort of working through it. I think this is more of just an introductory call to let you
Right.
know that a local party bought the property and that we're really excited. We love the village. And I tell everybody that listen, there's been so much, like the reason the village of Fairport is so hot is because you have an economic development office that drives that is open development. And there's a
Right.
reason that Pittsford's stuck in this. Again, I grew up in Pittsford. I'm a Pittsford graduate. I live in Pittsford now. And I feel like we're stuck in a time warp where everyone's like, everything's fine the way it is. But the reality is it could be so much better. And I think that you guys are seeing that firsthand, that Fairport has gotten so much better over the last 10 years. I think a
Yeah,
lot
and I
of it is
think
economic development.
Yeah, and I think your vision matches ours. I mean, if Jonna shared our economic development plan with you,
Mhm.
we are interested in supporting things that bring in jobs and businesses that drive jobs. So your description of I don't want a storage unit aligns with us as well. We're not interested in giving incentives to somebody who's going to bring in
Mhm.
a storage unit. That's not going to build jobs. I think the multi-family development is very interesting for us and our urban renewal agency. So I would just like I thank you for the introduction, and in the
Yeah.
5 minutes that you've given us, to me, the visions seem to match. So I would definitely be in
Yeah,
favor of
that's great to
us
hear. I mean,
continuing a
the only thing I
relationship.
would say that, like, I don't know how you support it, what the right ask is that staircase, that mezzanine, the connection. I really think connecting our property to the footbridge. The footbridge is an enormous amenity resource, and I'd really love to try to come up with a way to formally connect it. And I don't know with the right person. I think that might actually be in the town of Parenton rather than the village of
Right.
Fairport. But
Yeah.
like that's sort of one of the things that we want to start navigating. Um, we may try to do stuff this spring where we bring in like dirt chips or some sort of creative path, probably an economical path, that is sort of more formal than the dirt track. I don't know how you can describe it, what's there now. But we think that's a big part of our plan.
Well, I'd look forward to an opportunity on a warmer day to come take a walk around the site, see the buildings,
Okay.
see what you envision here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah,
And
and honestly, I think the sooner you guys see it, I mean, like the next 30 days, 45 days, the sooner the better. So you can almost see the current state of repair of the site or disrepair of the site,
Mhm.
so that perhaps you'll get, as we invest in the property, you guys also see that like how seriously we take it and what we want to have there. Because I think there will be by the spring an enormous difference. We're gonna start painting things and clearing off moss and connecting. There's no gutters. There's not a single gutter set up on the property. They've all fallen apart. So like just adding gutters, it doesn't do a ton to the overall attractiveness, but like it takes money and there's an expense to it that we're investing because it's necessary in maintaining, the building.
Forgive me for sounding naive, but where else, what other mixed use sites do you have around town that we can drive by and say, look at
I
that?
mean,
That
like,
is
well,
beautiful."
I mean, the big one's Packett's Landing.
That's you. Got
Yeah.
it.
We bought it like 15 months ago.
Thank you.
And we also own the Gerber Collision at 1177 Fairport Road. It's not in the village, but it's another
Mhm.
building.
Anything
Hi,
else,
Kevin.
guys?
Welcome.
We're excited about the opportunities that's before all of us. and grateful that there is local ownership because it has languished. And, it's one of those things that if only, and here we are at that point where we're poised to say, wow, I'm excited.
Listen, it's exciting to hear. A lot of times, as a developer, you hear, "No, leave it the way it is," and like we love the vision, optimism, excitement that you guys bring. So thank you.
Thank you.
Just one other thing to share. Jordan and I also met with Brian White, and Brian has also already met with Jill in the planning office, I believe. And so because the property, I think everyone knows this, but the property is mostly in the village, but also in the town. And so they will require some coordination on some things. And in the meeting with Brian, the goal is to try to streamline things as much as possible, so those things are coordinated and not trying to make something work that works with the village doesn't work for the town. So Jill and Brian are paying attention to those things and will help guide the process and into the right hands with the town as well. Kevin, did you have anything for Jordan? I know you guys have talked in the past.
No, we had, is my volume on?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. No, we met right before I left. So yep, I'm good. I have a good picture, but I like Leslie's point. It'd be nice to get a little tour of the site as well.
Like I said, anytime you guys want, we're around.
Nice.
Okay, well, we'll wait for the snow to melt a little bit, and then maybe we'll try to find a time late February, early March. Kevin will be back in town then,
March the 6th,
March
Okay.
6th.
to answer your question that you just texted me.
And not a moment sooner.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Jordan?
Not right now.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank
All
you.
right,
for your
thank you
time.
guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jordan.
Jordan.
All right. Well, Kevin, do you want to lead? Do you want?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't have an agenda in front of me. So
Excellent. All right. Let's move on to approval of the minutes from December 15th.
I will move approval.
Is there a second? Donna?
I'll
Susanna.
second.
Sorry, I'm
Mhm.
trying to get myself off mute. Yes, I second, or Kevin does, whoever.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Let's move on to financial reports. We'll start with resolution 2026-01, authorizing payment of the bills.
So because I'm not in person, I haven't reviewed the invoices, but the what's here all looks within reason and normal practice. So I can move to approve. I can move to approve with dependent on the final review of the invoices. We don't have Ed here, but
I think last time we did this, we did pending, approve pending review.
okay. That's my motion then.
I'll second it with the pending review.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Can look, let's take a look at the cash balances and the financials. John, is there anything you want to point out?
No, I don't. There's nothing no significant changes since last month on either of those items.
And the investment report? Any questions, concerns, guys?
I've got a question on the profit and loss. It's in the packet, it's page 7. The net ordinary income line is showing a negative 16,259 and 76 cents. Everybody follow where I'm referring to? Jonna, I just wasn't sure what's driving that. Is that a timing of receipt of something, or what's driving that negative 16,000 number?
Yes, sorry, I have one screen instead of multi-screens. So it is a timing of receipts. The IDA gets most of its cash from um, income from pilot payments. And so the school tax pilot payment went out at the end of the year and is due February 1, I believe. So that will resolve with that payment.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or concerns? We'll move on to old business, of which there is none. And we'll move on to new business. Jonna prepared her end of year accomplishments and opportunities. You want to go through that and discuss anyone? Jonna, you want to share the highlights?
Sure. So we had our usual slate of meetings, which met all of our requirements. We did not have a governance committee meeting, but we have that. We're working on that schedule coming up for the next month or so. Exciting, you had a brand new executive director, and we created a new position to bring on the associate director of communications. Amy and I have had a wonderful year, and really it's been a pleasure working in this organization and leading the efforts of OCED. We had a productive strategic planning meeting this year, and overall we're able to continue on the regular path of business even with the transition in staff. At the end of December, we opened a new significant loan for Bonnie and Clyde. The real benefit of that was the occupation of a long vacant space on Main Street, the old Bank of America, now a beautiful new restaurant. Again, this is the IDA. Sorry, I'm so sorry. That is an LDC item, that Bonnie and Clyde item.
As far as the loan.
The loan, yes. I got into my wrong packet. Sorry about that. So other IDA accomplishments, we achieved the pro housing designation. That was a significant requirement to be able to submit a DRI award application. We did a ton of community engagement associated with the DRI application. We submitted that DRI application, and the highlight of that is that $77 million in potential projects for our village, private and public, including housing, mixed use, commercial, infrastructure, all the stuff we covered. Another exciting thing that happened, sponsored by the IDA, was the sponsorship of World Canal Conference and the visit and the impact on the village over the course of the 200-year anniversary of the Erie Canal bicentennial celebration. And those are the highlights. We had a great year, and we were glad to be able to do it.
Any questions? Any discussion?
I'll just share. I'm excited about the first year with you leading the charge, Jonna, and Amy's impact as well. Is there any update on the DRI piece?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Cool.
Is there a deadline when it will be?
Well, I Google the news every day to see if they have announced any other regions. And the news stories that are coming up seem to be from mid to late February of last year. So they haven't made any announcements for any region, and they announce all of the regions separately. Typically, they announce our region, Finger Lakes, towards the end, and they haven't announced any yet. So we still have at least a few weeks of waiting.
I was told by somebody who knows somebody who said that it was going to happen in sometime in the next few weeks, mid-February kind of thing. They'll start with their announcements.
Did they tell you about our award yet?
No, that person didn't know.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. All right. Any other business? Take a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And there we go. Let's move on to the Urban Renewal Agency. Gotta get it open. Sorry. My mad clicking of all the X's, I closed out my folder. And I'd like to call the January 26th, 2026 meeting of the Fairport and Urban Renewal Agency to order. Is there anyone here any public comment? Nobody's here. Seeing none, we'll move on to the minutes. I'm saying that from memory. I haven't gotten there open.
I'm happy to move approval on those minutes from December 15th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent. We'll move into the financials. For resolution 2026-01, authorized payment of the bills, URA bills.
Similar to our last meeting, I would approve these pending review, but everything looks within the norm and as expected on this list.
Excellent.
I'll second pending their same review.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Resolution 2026-01, authorizing payment of the Section 8 bills. Should that be 02, guys? I don't know.
No, it should be a 1.
Oh,
Okay.
one.
It's by the month, but just separate
Section
entity,
8,
URA
okay.
Section 8.
Jennifer, can you explain 1937, the refund of overpayment?
Let me just take a look.
It's for Melissa Eddington, Jen.
I've never seen that before.
She, okay, it typically doesn't happen. I believe when we have to go retroactively to pay somebody back, which she's a tenant.
Yep.
And she had overpaid and we caught the mistake this year. Not in the audit or anything. We just caught it when we were doing her this year's research. So if we want to go back that far, we have to use admin funds. So normally it would be tucked in a HAP fund and you would never notice because of all the payments. This was large enough and went back to a prior fiscal year that we decided to do it with an admin fee. So that's what that is. Normally we don't have something that far back, but we did this year, so that's all that is.
All right. So I will make a motion to approve the payments. Sorry, I think my volume is being adjusted. Sorry. Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve pending review of the invoices.
I'll second.
Perfect.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent. We can move into cash balances and financials. Any questions? No.
No.
Loan status report. Anything of note, Jonna?
No, ma'am.
She just manned me. Let's see. Loan status report. And then we're here at the front porch grant summary.
We don't have a lot of front porch action at this time of year, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I did have a question. Someone asked me, is front porch grant coming back next year? And I wasn't aware that we ever like close it down and then reopen it. It's just maybe gets action during the construction months and not during the winter. So my answer was it's ongoing and open until we close it. So I would expect they would, if they applied in April, we would take that application. But curious if we ever have like set a season or period.
We haven't really. We have had the program for several years because we still have the funds to support it and think it's important. We have done, initially we did mailers in various quadrants where we wanted to see, get them out and sent them, in their mailbox with little postcards to let them know of the project. And I think it was actually, my quadrant northwest part of the village, but now it's open everywhere. And if somebody's planning now and wants to get, for their project, it would behoove them to put themselves, this step in the application in their plan. But clearly nobody's going to be starting any construction anytime soon.
We have often talked about that at our May planning meeting. And, when we talk about programs coming up and, as everybody mentioned, we've never said no and we've never closed it down. And if we see this year as we're going through our planning that it makes sense to do it, I think we bring it up at the May meeting and then we close it in June, close it in January, something like that.
Yeah.
Might make sense too to get, with our social media push or something more mailer, maybe make sense to get something, messaging out before May, where potentially the response to that would drive how much we look at as far as funding that specific initiative in the planning, as we plan.
Great. We can work on that.
Perfect. Porches could be a good topic for a podcast.
Front porch friendly.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Any other questions about the grants? We'll move on to Jennifer. Are you ready for your Section 8 report? Did we lose her?
Yep. No, I just wanted to click off my audio. And of course, now, just like everybody else, I opened stuff I shouldn't have. Hold on. Okay, so I guess the biggest thing that's really going on is Rose Hollow. Inspections are this Wednesday. Paul will be doing the inspections for, we believe it will be 7 of the units at this time. So what happens is we have an initial HAP contract. Normally in the past we were allowed to put on all 12 units regardless. Now the regulations are a little bit different. We start off with the number of people who are eligible. And then the owner, as people move out, the owner can request that we add additional units to the HAP contract without another competitive round of funding. So what's going on is 2 of the people we found are over income. So we cannot put them on the HAP contract. If they do become income eligible during the next whenever, we will be able to add them onto the HAP contract and make those families eligible. If they don't become income eligible and they move out, we'll put the unit on then per the request of the owner. Then there are 3 individuals who actually have vouchers now, and they regular Section 8 vouchers, and typically those are the hardest to convert They don't like to give up their voucher, which is what they have to do. And it's hard to get them on board. So we're still kind of working with them. With project base, it's the same exact program as HCV, but the words give up your voucher is just too extreme for them. If they ever move out, go ahead. What's
No, I just, yeah, I'm still not totally understanding what the downside of going from a regular voucher to project-based.
There isn't one. The absolute only downside, and I always have to disclose this, is, for example, we're in shortfall still. That means that we cannot issue any additional vouchers right now. We'll be out of it very soon. If we were ever in shortfall and say Jonna Smith, whatever, she lives in unit 7, she converted her voucher to a PBV, but she wants to move to Florida to be with her family. Under any other circumstance, I am required to give her a voucher. However, if we're in shortfall, I don't have a voucher to give her. So she has to wait until we're out of shortfall. That's the downside. That is a downside to them. So we have to give them all that information. So I do understand their reluctancy. The requirement, and we do tell them that if that does happen, they have to absolutely be given the next available voucher by regulation, by law. So we're still kind of working with those people. But again, once they move out and another family moves in, as long as they're qualified, we will add that unit to the HAP contract at a later time. At any time during this entire HAP contract, the owner can come back and request additional units be put on. So I'm not very much.
What downside is there for the agency? Any?
No, none. No, none at all.
Either
zero.
way, it doesn't matter.
It's just our goal is to
Okay.
save the project, and that's what we're doing, because 3 people are already protected, 2 people aren't eligible. So we will protect 7, and eventually the entire complex will be protected. So there really is no downside other than I have to go through I literally have to put in a spreadsheet, we're adding this unit and qualify the person just like normal. So there's really no downside other than we're not going to get the entire thing now, but it's fine. And I do explain that here, that the rules are that we can add another unit, any units, number of units at any time during the HAP contract. HUD funding, we are now out of continuing resolution, which makes everybody breathe again. So that means that our next year's funding is set, or is really close to being set. So Congress released the 26 transportation bill. It's actually 77 billion more dollars in HUD funding for this fiscal year, or for 2026, an increase over 2025. And NARO stated that the HAP funding, okay, so all of that, out of that, the HAP funding is going to be 2.8 billion and 65 million in admin fees over 2025. And this is all we've been waiting for this since we've been waiting, and we're in a continuing resolution, which means we needed the budget to pass in order for us to take a deep sigh, because we didn't really know if we would get our funding from month to month. So they would do a continuing resolution. So that's why this is retroactive. We're just getting this information now. We always get it so late. So that's what makes it so hard to project out what's going to happen. But we're all very pleased about this. Again, we made it through whatever was going on there pretty well for now. We haven't seen too many regulation changes recently. There's our president is tightening down criminal records. So typically in the past, we've been able to the criminal background checks have been made looser, as well as immigration. He's tightening those 2 things down. So once again, we're not able to assist anyone who's had like a violent criminal offense in the past 5 years, which is standard kind of, we like we take a look at criminal backgrounds very seriously, but we had to have been a little more lenient in the past, and now he's tightening that down. And that with the immigration, those are the two things that we've been seeing from him. No other major program shifts at this time. CMAP was finalized by HUD, and our high performer status continues, which is lovely. The Northfield, we're still holding off on this because we're in shortfall, and I don't feel that we have enough funding to make a final award for that project. So we're kind of going to determine that as we move forward over the next couple months. So we'll see how that goes. Our numbers are decreasing. And now with the funding, I have a phone call with my HUD rep to determine when we'll be out of shortfall and what our funding actually is going to look like for HAP funding, our particular agency. So I think we're on the up and up here. We're doing good. So we'll be able to start leasing like I've been saying forever. I've learned a lesson. I'll never tell you when we're starting to lease again. I will always say, we're going to evaluate month by month. It's that difficult sometimes to determine. So that's about it on our front. Everything else is well.
Can you remind me what CMAP is?
Yep. CMAP is Section 8 SEM 8 Section 8 Management Assessment Program. It's basically our own internal audit.
I see.
So I look at 40 records and I see if we made any mistakes, just like our auditors do. It's my own internal. And then HUD's has some criteria that they determine on their end because we do monthly reporting for them. And those numbers determine some indicators of that. So I review my part, they review their part, then they review it all at the end, and that's what makes that determination. So that's just a self-assessment program for our program to make sure that we're functioning well. I found no errors. We did lose a couple of points for our family self-sufficiency program. One of the requirements is we have to have 30%, I believe, of our individuals in that program have to have an escrow balance in the bank. And this year we had cashed out the last one. So our numbers are so small in that program that if we have 2 people in it, one has to have an escrow account with money in it. And we cashed out one girl and we have one person now on the program without an escrow. So we lost 3 points, but I'll take it. That's not terrible. I'm not mad about it. So we're doing good.
Any questions?
it.
Thank you, Jennifer.
All
I appreciate
right.
your leadership with that and following through with Rose Hollow because that is
Yeah,
important.
I did forget to mention, we are going there Friday to finalize all of the families, and after that, it's hopefully all the inspection will pass on Wednesday. I know they will. And then we'll see and finalize the families on Friday and be able to go under HAP contract very, very shortly after. So it might not be making it for February 1st, but it will be within the first week or 2 of February at the latest. So we're not too far off schedule.
Excellent. Thanks, Jennifer. New old business is none. Does anyone else have any old business? Okay, we'll move on to Jana's annual fiscal end of year report.
So, all the other things, OCED serves all 3 agencies, so we count those accomplishments across all 3 agencies. Specific to the URA, our achievements, Jennifer highlighted a lot of what's been happening with Section 8, but we did grow our Section 8 vouchers from 473 to 497. And the Front Porch Grant Program is part of this. We approved 10 new grants in 2025. We paid 9 of them for a total amount of $16,950. I have a little typo here in this where it says $1,950, but $16,950 for those. One was approved at the end of the fiscal year and wasn't paid out until the new fiscal year. So that's why those numbers are not the same, 9 and 10. And overall, the Front Porch Grant Program has been a great success with an investment ratio of 4.4 to 1. So our dollars are making a great impact on the community.
Any questions? Thank you, Jonna.
Welcome.
No more questions. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So
Move.
moved. Beat ya.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. We'll move on to the Local Development Corp. I'd like to call to order the January 26th, 2026 meeting of the Fairport Local Development Corporation. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes from December 15th, 2025.
Move approval.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Move on to our financials. Resolution 2026-01, the authorization of the payment of the LDC bills.
The bills look to be within the norm. I haven't reviewed the invoices, but I would make a motion to approve them pending review of the invoices.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Okay. We'll take a look at the cash balances and the financials. John, is there anything you want to point out? P&L, balance sheets. Am I missing anything before we get into loan status report? Any concerns there?
I do have one question on the loan schedule that I would like to address as an executive session. I know that we're going to have one to discuss another issue, but there's another I'd like to include in that.
Gotcha. Okay.
I did, I'm sorry, I was on mute there. I wanted to say we've got a loan on that report that is not current. We've talked about it in the past, that pays quarterly. I did reach out to the borrower. They have sent the payment, haven't received it in our hand yet, but based on their past history, and I expect that we will have that in our mail at some point this week, and that payment will be again for a large quarterly payment. Will address anything that looks like it's in arrears and be a forward-looking payment for the next quarter.
That was my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to mention on the loan status report, we have talked about, we have a loan that has a large balloon payment coming up in May. I did talk to the borrower. Their intention is to pay the balloon at the end of the loan schedule as planned. They're aware that it's due and they're prepared to do that. We are going to talk again in March just to make sure there's been no other change in expectations or development. But they seemed inclined to pay as expected without any further discussion, unless that March check-in proves different.
That's great.
Gotcha. Good stuff.
And John, am I right in reading that we have one loan that is now paid off completely?
Yeah. Yes. Fairport Fitness.
Yeah.
They
Great.
made their last loan payment And they actually made a full loan payment, which was, and they only a partial payment was due. And I think you would see on the resolution that we refunded their overpayment.
Nice.
Right. Great. I think we should all have a little celebration on that one.
There was a rough, there was rough times during COVID with them, with all of that, all of the community was struggling during COVID, and it's good that we're there.
I wonder if there's even something we could do for them on the communication side. I mean, not, I don't guess they won't want to be
Recognized for paying off their loan.
recognized on the loan ending, but I do think, like, it is, I don't know, maybe a chance to recognize our relationship and our gratitude for that.
Creative, yeah. All right, moving on, we'll look at the facade grants.
The facade grant report, the main update here is, you may remember, the grant for Creative Rage Turning Point was initially awarded with a partial award around $6,300, approved with the opportunity to apply for the whole $10,000 when the appropriate quotes were in place. And the initial grant was a bit before my time, but the project has dragged a little bit. He did come back last month with the remainder of the required documentation. He submitted his documentation, and we are going to process it at the total amount that was approved pending that documentation. So that's a long explanation, just in case you had looked at last month for that. At that same application, you would see a lower amount than the full 10,000, because prior to last month, he hadn't submitted that additional documentation.
I think this is going to be another program that we want to talk about in May as well, to see, about our limits that we're going to be, if we want to continue Pride, are there going to be certain things that we want to target? Is there specifics we want to encourage people with? So anyway, I would just like to make sure that gets added to our agenda for May.
I agree. I mean, with all the improvements in the streetscape, it'd be, is there a way for us to incentivize them to do something that, takes it to the next level for their storefront and their streetscape,
Yep.
All right, and we'll move on to the Jenna's report for the LDC.
Yes, so I similarly, we accomplished many things at an administrative level. Specific to the LDC, we issued a significant loan for a long vacant property at the prior Bank of America. They now have a beautiful new restaurant there. We had 4 sign and facade grants. One of the most significant is Millstone Block Building. I continue to hear from people all over the village the improvement the impact that improvement has made on that business, and it's so great to be able to say that OCED was a part of that. Overall, that was $62,000 in economic impact through the sign and facade grant. So we are seeing not just the aesthetic improvements, but the investment back in the community. Speaking of community, the LDC does a lot of community sponsorship. We did our usual Home for the Holidays, Music Festival, Oktoberfest. Special things that happened this year were the Seneca Chief event sponsorship and the Walk This Way and Construction Bucks program, funds we had specifically designated to support the merchants and the impact of the streetscape project. We did a good job on that budget and stayed under budget in what we had designated for that support, which leaves some funds to, continue to push into those programs as Kevin said, we can talk about that in our May planning. Those are the highlights. I'll leave it at that.
Any questions and comments? Thanks for these, Jonna. As I scroll through the agenda, it looks like the loan status reports is in there twice. I saw it above and then below, so.
Sorry.
It's all right. We can move on to adjourn. Well, we would like to move to go into, so can I have a motion to move to go into executive session?
So moved.
Moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We need to suspend recording or in live stream.
Yes, give me a moment. I'll suspend.